In any FPS title, there will always be a handful of weapons that perform better than the rest. These are what we call meta weapons, which will naturally end up being the most frequently used by the player base. Now obviously, using the same weapons over and over again can be quite boring, which is why we have the sub-meta category. These weapons aren't quite as strong as the meta weapons, but they're still fairly competitive and are usually quite underrated. If I were to ask you guys right now, what is the most underrated weapon in Call of Duty Mobile, I bet I'd receive a lot of different answers. Hell, there are a lot of weapons that can be easily argued as being underrated, or as the kids say these days, slept on. One of these underrated weapons stands out to me in particular as my favorite assault rifle. Now I'm not going to glaze it and say secretly meta, because it's not, but what I will be doing is speaking in defense of the CR-56 AMAX. A lot of you guys, upon hearing that statement, might be going, I know. For the longest time, the AMAX has had quite a reputation for being painfully mediocre to say the least. But after a series of buffs, it's actually pretty decent now. But before I go into what makes the weapon good, I should address some of the common complaints of the AMAX since there are quite a few of them. Complaint number 1. The time to kill. One of the more common complaints of the AMAX is that its time to kill is too slow, when in reality, that is simply not the case. It's only 1 frame slower than the Type 19 and the XM4, and is nearly identical to the BP50. Now, I don't mean to present this disingenuously, since the BP50 does have a significantly faster fire rate, which translates to a lower punishment value. But the point here is that its time to kill is not as slow as some of you may think, and is still within the realm of being competitive. It's just that it's not an insta-kill weapon. Complaint number 2. The BSA. Some people say that the BSA is so bad that it is impossible to use at range. Again, not really. For reasons that I'll get into later, its BSA is actually better than some would think. It's not god tier unlike some weapons, but for your common engagements, which would be within 35 meters, this is a perfectly fine value unless you're actively challenging head glitches. Complaint number 3. The mag size. Okay, this is the first actual complaint. While a mag size of 40 is by no means bad, it does push it down a notch compared to similar weapons that can potentially take on 2 extra enemies before needing to reload. And personally, if I were to buff this gun, I would increase the mag size with the extended mag A up to 45, just like its counterpart in Modern Warfare 2019, which will allow 1 extra kill per mag. Complaint number 4. The headshot damage. One of the strongest aspects of the Type 19 and the XM4 is their ability to 3-tap by landing just a single headshot, resulting in an extremely fast time to kill. This means that even if the enemy has better aim and or positioning than you, they can still lose just because you landed a lucky headshot. The AMAX can't do this as it requires 2 headshots to 3-tap, and since it doesn't have a crazy fast time to kill either, it will be quite hard to get out of tricky situations. Okay, so the AMAX is not that bad, but why should I use it? What outstanding trait does it possibly have that would make me want to use— oh. Yeah, so the AMAX after its recent buff now has a ridiculous 4-tap range. With just the mono suppressor alone, its 4-tap range goes up to a staggering 37.5 meters, which is very comparable to the Type 19 when built for maximum range. And because you only need 1 attachment to achieve this range, this opens up a slot for something else such as the tactical foregrip to improve BSA. It even has better hitboxes than the Type 19, requiring just 2 shots above the legs, whereas the Type 19 requires 2 shots above the stomach. This partially compensates for the slightly slower time to kill, by being nearly guaranteed as long as you don't have a foot fetish. I wonder where I've seen this philosophy before. And because it has one of the easier recoil patterns in the game, you can quite easily take advantage of this range potential. Well, then maybe it has slow mobility and handling. Guess again, because the AMAX actually has a noticeably faster ADS time compared to the max range Type 19, which can feel quite sluggish at times. It even has a slightly better movement speed and a significantly faster strafe speed, especially after the recent nerf to the Type 19's mobility. One of the more underrated aspects of the AMAX is the iron sights, which are very clean by default and are even better if you have the free legendary as opposed to the Type 19, which can be quite obstructive at times and will force some players to use an optic. This makes the AMAX a more free-to-play friendly option. So after all of that, that brings us to the question, is the AMAX meta? No, it's not. The AMAX is placed a tier below the XM4 and the Type 19 due to being less versatile. Those weapons have a slightly faster time to kill, higher headshot damage, and a larger mag size, with the XM4 in particular having SMG grade handling. What you're looking at is a situational side grade that slots in nicely with the other upper tier flex ARs, specializing at longer ranges at the cost of some versatility. I should probably mention this as well since someone's gonna ask about it in the comments anyway. The AMAX does have an ammo conversion that turns it into a semi-automatic DMR. Honestly, I don't think this is worth using as it has several problems. See, its main strength, it's supposed to be its 2-tap consistency, but this is completely redundant. Don't believe me? That's fine. I can prove it because I have tested it. The test itself is actually very simple. I record gameplay of me using the gun in Legendary Ranked, review the footage, count up to 50 engagements that don't involve any external factors, and then tally up the frequency in which I took 2 shots to kill, or less. With the M67 AMAX, I got a 2-tap rate of 98%. Sounds pretty good, eh? But that is where things get more interesting when I run the same tests with the SKS and the Type 63. As you can see here, the M67 AMAX still has the highest 2-tap rate, but the difference is only 4% at best, which is very small in the grand scheme of things. And to achieve this 4% difference, the AMAX makes way too many sacrifices. It has a noticeably slower fire rate, which directly translates to a slower time to kill. Its ADS time is as slow as the SKS, and despite being a precision weapon, it is the only DMR in which you actually have to worry about recoil and BSA, which is extremely counterproductive on a weapon that is designed for longer ranges. And while yes, it does have decent mobility, keep in mind that the 15-round AS-Val exists for that sole purpose. Even the Type 63 is not bad either. Simply put, there isn't much of a reason to run the M67 ammo as it is worse than the other DMRs in most aspects, all for a benefit that other weapons do just fine. When it comes to building the AMAX, start with the monosuppressor for range and concealment, granulated grip tape and tactical foregrip A for better BSA, the extended mag A for the largest mag size, and the no stock for better mobility and handling. Now this right here is your standard flex build, as it tries to improve its general aspects without sacrificing in any major field. But you can also build it to be a fairly decent main AR by replacing the foregrip with the MIP custom long barrel. And since you don't need as much range boosting, you can swap the monosuppressor for the tactical suppressor. With this build, you get a slightly longer 4-tap range and your recoil is quite a bit better. Its BSA is very comparable to the Type 19's, which makes it better at longer ranges, but your ADS time and mobility are about as slow as well. If you want to use the DMR conversion for whatever reason, start with the M67 ammo, the intruder stock barrel, and the no stock to improve mobility and handling, the granulated grip tape for BSA, and the OWC light suppressor for free concealment, since range doesn't really impact this gun. And that was my defense for the CR-56 AMAX. I spent this season's rank grind legendary using mostly the AMAX, and I actually found it pretty enjoyable, and had decent success as long as I wasn't getting demolished by Odins and USS 9s. But that's just my experience from using the weapon, so it's my turn to ask. What do you guys think about the AMAX? Perhaps this video has changed your mind on the weapon and made you want to give it a try. Make sure you let me know in the comments below. And if you found the video helpful, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. According to YouTube analytics, only 10% of you guys are actually subscribed. Like, what the hell is this? So I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Also let me know what weapon you want to see me talk about, and I might just consider it. But until then, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye bye!